Solid last week.
Gotta put some gold
What, he's like expensive list. That broadcast like a publicly held company.
What's up, gang?
All right, we'll go ahead and have Coach make an opening statement, and we'll get questions. Just leave your hands up for a second. Coach,
Okay.
whenever you're ready.
Yep, highly disappointed in the way that we played the game the other day. I thought in the midst of adversity, we played hesitant, which is not the identity of this defense. I think we've got a group of young men that take a lot of pride in the way they play, the effort that they play with, and I thought we played too much on our heels on the road with adversity. As a coaching staff, we have to do a better job on the road of creating a sideline environment to make sure our guys are ready to go respond. That starts with me and our coaches, and making sure that our players know how to respond in the moment of adversity. But I've got great confidence in our players. I think the level of ownership that I've seen from our guys has been really strong the last 48 hours here, and I think we're ready to go put a product on the field on Saturday that our fans, this university can be very proud of, and so looking forward to doing that this week.
Thanks, Coach. Starting on the far right with Nick.
Yeah, the lack of physicality that popped up a few times, how will that be addressed moving forward?
I think sometimes one of our keys to victory, right, was that when you're playing a team that moves laterally in the 1+ quarterback system, there has to be elements of being patient to let the ball declare. But once the ball declares, one of our keys to victory was to finish with violence and aggressiveness on the ball. I thought we let some of the things that they did put us on our heels, and we didn't respond well enough when adversity hit. And so those things, you can tell them, sometimes you have to be shown. And I think once our players were shown, I think they're ready to respond.
Far left, Chase.
FSU was able to get a lot of running yards on the perimeter outside. When it comes to that, is the issue more about the force defender not getting contained, or is it more about the help being late, or something else?
Yeah, ours was, there were leveraging issues in terms of our guys, like being decisive and getting off of blocks. I thought we were timid on getting off of blocks, and so we allowed people to get the edge on us too often. And that's something that I thought our block destruction's been something that we have really emphasized and done a good job in the offseason, and that wasn't nearly the standard. So really excited to get that fixed this week.
Far right, Charlie.
Kind of going back to what Nick was talking about, what did you think of the effort that you saw, especially from the linebackers, maybe the safety group?
I thought we played timid. I thought we let adversity put us on our heels, and we played hesitant at times because of that. And that was, I think, striking for all of us because that's not the identity of our defense. It's never been who we are. That's not who these players are. And I think they are very much looking forward to showing that next Saturday.
Still in the middle, on the left side there.
I counted 23 players who took snaps on defense in that game. Can you just talk me through the process of that many guys rotating in on a close game?
Yeah, I think there's going to be moments. We did have some bangs and bruises, right? But we did have some guys that we felt like had earned an opportunity to go out there on the field. Game one, you want to make sure you give people opportunities to do that, and then based off of the body of work and what they do on the field on game day, will reflect some of the rep base that you see moving forward. I don't think you have to make big sweeping changes. There was enough blame to go around, even from some of our best players. And so you want to give people an opportunity to get things corrected. But certainly the body of work on the field will dictate, right, rep base moving forward in the season.
Front row, Kenny.
It's kind of a multi-part question. Last week, there was a lot of conversation about the newness of Florida State, new coordinator, new personnel. When you went back and watched how much of what they didn't show up on film in your preparation, how did the defense respond in those moments? And then kind of how do you build on that as the season goes on?
No, we were not surprised by anything. We were prepared for a number of things that they were doing, including some of the trick plays and a number of their run game things. We did not play to the level that we are capable of as a defense, and so we've got to own that as a coaching staff. We've got to own that as players, which I think we are. But I have great confidence in our guys that they will get that corrected and quickly.
Go to Katie on the left side here.
They only dropped back to pass 14 times, or I guess they probably dropped back more than that, and he ran some. But what does the defensive line need to do to generate more pressure?
Well, I think I think there's times when in the second half I tried to call more pressure to generate a little bit more pressure on the quarterback. We were able to do that a little bit more effective. But one time on a third down, we had a free runner. We let the quarterback out of the pocket, and then we had a late hit out of bounds as he was going out on a critical 3rd and 5, where we had a chance to get off the field. And then another time we were getting ready, we had put ourselves in position to get them to a 3rd and 11, and then we had a late hit on the quarterback as well. And so you want to affect the quarterback, but you have to know when, and you got to have the maturity and understanding of when to do that and when not to do that. And I think both those guys took ownership of it, and I think they'll get those things corrected moving forward. But certainly from a pressure standpoint, that's something that, I've got to make sure that we can affect quarterbacks better than what we did Saturday.
Colin, front left.
Sort of in the same vein, it seems like mobile quarterbacks have kind of affected your defense, dating back to last year a little bit too. Like, kind of what's the plan moving forward in terms of, I guess, containing when they get outside to kind of contain their ability to scramble, to rush, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think there's a pattern right now of when teams are moving laterally in the 1+ quarterback system. We saw it against Vanderbilt last year. We saw it in the first half against Oklahoma, and then it showed up this week. I thought, those are things that you have to look at, and you got to go, okay, we had a good week of preparation, but we weren't able to execute well enough on game day. So now schematically, what do I need to do to make sure I give our players the best chance to be successful based upon the body of work that we've put on the field? And so we're looking to address those issues.
Back right, Matt.
Do you think all the issues are fixable, or is some of it just weaknesses you'll have to deal with at this point?
Yeah, 100%. Those things will get fixed, and look forward to seeing our guys do it on Saturday.
Go right next to Matt. Let's go to Blake right here. You good? Okay, let's go to the left side. Let's go to EG right here in the front.
Coach, what would you attribute that hesitancy to? Is it schematically, fundamentally, and how do you make sure that doesn't happen again when more adversity is faced?
Well, I think, again, that goes into the pattern of us on the road as a football team. I think about the two games and a half that we, defensively have played timid and on our heels. And those are situations where on the road we've got to make sure that we protect our sideline. I talk about all the time. The sideline is a living, breathing organism that you've got to make sure you're doing your job to feed that the right way. And so even as a coaching staff, we got to make sure that we're challenging ourselves. There's so many things now with the iPads that you're making checks and adjustments and corrections. But let's make sure that we're also keep the main thing as a coaching staff, right? That we are making sure our players are ready to physically, mentally go out on the field and go play in an attacking mindset. And that's something that we didn't do a good enough job as a coaching staff.
We've got 2 more questions. Let's start with Hunter, far left side.
You mentioned there was a strong level of ownership over the last 48 hours. Who specifically on the defense has kind of led that charge besides maybe like Deontay or Keenan?
Every player on our defense right now.
So finish up with Mike on the back row.
On the topic of the effort, just how much are you evaluating that within the game, and would there be a scenario where if you saw a guy not going full speed, you would take him out of the game? And then along those same lines, just for guys coming back from injury like D-Law and Sab, how much is that affecting their ability to go full speed?
Yeah, I think some of those things, we have guys that play with great effort. They play with great enthusiasm and energy, and that did not show up on Saturday. But I'm not going to, we're going to allow our players to get it fixed. And so certainly there was enough blame to go around. You can point to every position on the field, right, that had issues in terms of not executing the level they're capable of and not playing with the passion and energy and effort that we have established here as a defense already. And so those are things that we're going to allow guys to get fixed, but certainly a body of work as you look into the season, right, a rep base is going to be, based upon what you do on the field from an execution standpoint. But I don't think there's a guy on our defense that doesn't take ownership of what happened. That starts with me and ends with our players. And I think everybody's ready to go establish that in the defense that we're capable of playing moving forward on Saturday.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys. Roll Tide.
Yep, I'm ready. All right, raise your hand for Coach Grubb. Let's go ahead and start here front right with Nick.
Yeah, offensive line-wise, what did the film show you, and where do you want to see improvement?
There's some good spurts there in the first half where I thought, especially on the left side, they played really well. I think the consistency to finish drives, the longer drives, I thought later in the football game we kind of waned out a little bit. And the guys bowed up a little bit in the third quarter and showed that they could do that, a little better job. So just the biggest piece, I think, is the consistency part. We just got to be a little more consistent on how we finish drives.
Go to Katie on the left side.
Kalen had said after the game that Ty just needs to trust his reads and let it fly. Kind of what do you have to do to instill that confidence in him moving forward?
Yeah, good question. Ty, he did. He'd be the first one to tell you. The progression discipline is a big thing for any quarterback. So I think when you get down in a football game, there sometimes can be I want to make the big throw every time, and there were some times there where certainly, I know he wished he'd have just stayed with his first read and just stayed within the progression. So for him, I think you just got to keep instilling that in practice. Like, don't pass on your number one, take that and just keep moving. And that's what we'll do. We'll keep working that with him.
Staying on the left side, front row, Chase.
You just answered a question about the offensive line, but a little more specifically, what did you think about the pass protection on Saturday?
I thought, KP, I thought had a pretty good day. There was a couple late pressures, but I mean, he was holding up for a long time. Interior pressures were a couple times we had a few problems, which is always the hardest for the quarterback to deal with is interior pressures fast. So they shored up later in the fourth on that, but I think they did a good job with some of the twist games that they presented, and overall 3 sacks is not where you want to be. And I think we had 40-some attempts, so that's not where you want to live either. But I thought it was okay. I think there's certainly some ID things that we can continue to be better at.
Go to the right side of Charlie.
Yeah, Coach, you had a strong first drive on the ground, and it kind of seemed like you got away from the run a little bit. What led to that decision?
Well, I think some of it, probably the later part, is the run game can be a softening process at times, and you hope that you can play with the lead or get into that late third and fourth quarter and really put the hammer down on the run game. And obviously we didn't get that opportunity late in the football game. We were playing from behind there for a little bit, so that certainly is part of it. I think that some of the run hits and adjustments that they made at some point, we had to try to overcome that, and they did. We had some nice third quarter run hits, but we got to keep the lead and stay ahead of the change. The biggest part for us was honestly just staying on the field, the third downs, being able to stay out there and sustain the run game and have that nice first drive like we had with some good first down runs. So we got to have some more efficiency on first and second down to keep the run game alive.
Go to Colin, front row on the left.
Ty Simpson said post-game that after that first drive, he saw complacency in the offense. Do you see complacency after that first touchdown drive from your group?
Well, I think, hindsight's 20/20. What we've asked our players and coaches to do is when we see that, address it, and so I did think that there were some times there where we didn't look as strong as we did in the first quarter. And so those are things that we're addressing in practice and certainly some things that have showed up that the guys know that, the preparation part will show up in a game. So for us, we just got to keep focusing on being strong throughout a practice, being strong throughout a game. And I think you could see that, we didn't have as good a second and third drive as we did the first.
Jump over to the front right, Kennington.
You obviously try to simulate quarterback pressure as much as you can in practice. There's no substitution for that in a game.
Yeah.
What did you see from Ty in handling that pressure, and how much of a step can a quarterback take from fall camp, first game, to the next game when you have like a game to kind of assess how he managed that?
Yeah, the toughest part, I think, for quarterbacks in general is not letting one pressure or a bad protection bleed into the next play. And certainly that can be the case. So I think there was times where the protection was adequate, where Ty got a little bit antsy, and he had a couple drives where later I thought he did a good job of not dropping his eyes. So I think the biggest part for him is, trying to simulate some of those pressures in practice and create those hostile environments for him in the backfield that he's got to be able to keep his eyes down the field and poised. I know that's something that he's excited to try to work on.
Go to Alex back on the left.
At receiver, when you evaluate what you saw, was the effort there, are they creating enough separation? And just the finishing of plays, are you seeing what you want across those three sort of thresholds?
Well, how I look at it is I just start with Jeremy Bernard, and that's what it's supposed to look like. And if you're watching the game, I mean, the guy's running in and blocking their Aztec player that's running down the middle of the field and smoking that dude, and then he's running down the sideline catching, play action pass, and his, desire and passion for the game. You just see how he plays, whether it's a run block or a pass play, and we just set that as the gold standard. And if it's not what Germ's doing, then it's not good enough. And I know we got some young guys. I thought Latsier, he didn't show up necessarily on the stat book, but I thought he was in there flying around. Derek Meadows was stretching the field a couple times. Those are guys that will continue showing up. And then Rico Scott, I thought played really, really hard. I know his catapult numbers, as always, were through the number, just really, really high on his player load, just how hard he plays. So I think those guys, are doing a really good job flying around. And I think that room understands, what it takes to win a football game. I know Isaiah got banged up a little bit early on, so it was a little tougher for him to get out there and play like he normally does. But they know what it's supposed to look like.
And on the left side, we'll go to Will.
Coach, did the strategy with the running game have anything to do with Jam Miller being on the shelf? Obviously, you guys did have a couple of weeks to prepare for that, and a lot of different guys were used in the backfield, including, for example, Kevin Riley, who got some good reps out there.
No, I think that Kev, you're right, showed up. I thought he showed a good burst, and that's something we're excited to see was what game reps were going to show up from what running back. And, you always want to have, I think we had right around 20 running back touches in the run game, and you'd love that number to be higher, like 25 to 30. Again, I think the fourth quarter and how it played out and having to play from behind at that point certainly, hammered that a little bit. But we got to be able to run the ball in any situation, down 2 scores or not.
All right, let's finish up back right here with Blake.
Yeah, Coach, going back to the receivers, just Ryan and Jeremy had over half y'all's targets. How do you get more guys involved consistently in the passing game outside of those two?
Yeah, I think part of it's reps, getting other guys in the game, make sure everybody's staying fresh. Germ's going to stay out there as long as we got enough Gatorade in him. I mean, he's going to be rolling the whole time. So, Ryan, as far as him, certainly one of our better playmakers. So you're trying to highlight him with the ball. And then from there, sometimes the ball just doesn't find guys depending on the coverages, and I think that, throughout time, our offense has shown that the ability to get the ball to whether it's the X, the Z, or the H, typically balances out depending on what defenses are trying to take away.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll have Coach make an opening statement and some questions. So,
Yeah,
whenever you're ready, Coach.
You bet, yeah. Just, I guess, first of all, just want to send condolences out to Leroy Jordan's family, with the passing over the weekend. And so, I know a huge part of this program and in the past here, and want to send from our coaching staff and our team our condolences. And then just hitting up the injury updates, because I know you guys will ask on those. Jamarian Latham had a lower body injury. We'll see how he progresses. It'll be day to day throughout this week. And then Isaiah Horton, really proud of the way he fought through lower body injury that he had, but just kept fighting through Saturday. Was certainly limited, still feeling that a little bit, but he just continued to compete, and he's someone that it doesn't surprise me that that's what we saw, but we expect him to be full go by the end of the week. We'll build up, as he can tolerate here early on. But Ryan, we'll go through the concussion protocol throughout the week. He'll have a day-to-day situation. Jaden Roberts, I think everyone probably saw last week, he was fully cleared. He's been out there on the practice field for some time now, but just for everyone to feel good and taking full go reps. He traveled. He could have gone in the game if we needed to, but didn't have him play out there. Tim Keenan will be week to week, just kind of moving forward, but he'll still be out this week. And then Jam Miller still week to week, coming along real nicely with his progression. So optimistic there here in the short future.
Thanks, Coach. Just start with Chase on the far left.
I know most, if not all, coaching staffs, when they grade individual players, that they track loafs or instances of lack of effort. Did you see much of that when you looked at film on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, there's, we were certainly disappointed in some effort situations that happened. I think they came in different ways, and some of it's just flat out got to pursue, got to get there, and it surprises you sometimes when it happens, especially with certain guys because of the effort that they put in and day out. But and I think there were some other things that come across as hesitancy, as a way I kind of put it. And I think after the game, probably would follow that up and say that there was a couple times where we just got to be quicker to get to a spot and do our job. It might be setting an edge and just, again, hesitant with the communication, kind of confirming, or just, we believe and have that confidence in what we're doing. There really wasn't much. It was really, I think I spoke maybe that there was a couple looks that we hadn't really practiced. Well, I don't really feel like there was really that at all. After watching the film, I thought we did a good job preparing. I thought the guys had a great week. Now you just got to, translate the numbers that you see on the football field that were in different jerseys and believe that that scheme, those X's and O's that you saw in your week of preparation is who it is in a Florida State uniform. And, I think you saw it as the second half went along. They started really kind of getting into it, but it was too late. It just put us behind the 8 ball. Now you got to be perfect in everything you do, and put us in a spot where we had to play catch up. And on the road, that's certainly hard to do. And those guys were feeling it. There with Florida State. There's a chance for them. And again, together as a team, we got to find a way to overcome one side of the ball. When you need that drive for a touchdown, getting it done defensively, when you can get that big stop, getting it taken care of right there. We inched our way back in the game. That's what you got to do when you have a 17-point deficit. Again, we shouldn't get to that spot, but inching our way, something that we did better than I felt in the offseason. We've talked about, the Oklahoma game last year and how you got to try to get 7 points and make it close and put some pressure on them. And we were right there, 24-17. Really, we should have the ball 3rd and 11, on defense with 9 minutes to go. And, just how far we had come in that probably previous 10 to 15 minutes of the game, I would have felt like, man, this thing's going to happen, and that there's a real belief and confidence that I think was building on the sideline. So we just got to finish. You got to get the stops. It comes back to just that effort, but it has to happen from the very first play.
Go to the far right side of Charlie.
You're kind of sticking with that. When you say you're surprised by some of the lack of effort or intensity from the players you're not expecting that from, what do you do to kind of combat that moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they're great kids. They got high character. They believe they want it bad, and so it's just showing them, and a lot of times they already know, and making sure that we continue to be intentional. That's a word that I use a lot, and it's going to be something I use a lot more this week again. Just be intentional on what we were trying to accomplish with quality reps, and making sure that every rep is done at a high level from, the effort to the execution.
Staying on the right side, we'll go to Nick.
Yeah, before he got hurt, Ryan Williams working inside more a little bit. How would you assess what he did and where he could continue to improve once he gets back?
Yeah, I think we'll continue to, work and figure that out. There's just been so many bright moments with him inside. He never really got going, in the game before getting hurt. And so, we'll continue to have to make sure we're moving him around. And, last year had a great season, and a good foundation as far as us understanding what he can do on the outside. We really felt like what we had seen, especially in the fall, limited practices in the spring, but in the fall, really liked how he could get matchups in our favor and really pose some problems. You can get him from one side of the field to the other. You can get him deep. You can get him, out in the flat quick. And so there's a lot of different directions he can go. Get the ball even in the run game a little bit. So we'll keep assessing that. As we go through here, and this week will be a little trickier again with him getting limited opportunities, but that's going to allow someone else to step up and us kind of continue to figure out the dynamics of how we feel best with our receiving core and the people that should be out there in those spots.
Let's go to Mike on the back left.
You mentioned the great week before the game. Just how much do you self-scout the preparation before games, and are there times as a coach where maybe you notice during the week that things might not be going the way that you want them to?
You said, what do you mean, great week?
A great week. You said a great week of preparation.
For this week, you're saying, or are you referring to last
going
week?
Up to Florida State before that game.
I said that?
You said that, yeah, before.
Oh, just,
yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I think our guys did. Defensively, I felt like that we were pretty honed in. Gone back and actually looked at the practice film on some of the reps that we took that were pretty much identical to what we saw, and just trying to figure out, why were we one step or why was our communication just a little bit slower? So it's just, again, these guys have already shown me yesterday how bad they want it and how they're going to respond. And so, I really feel like the tone in the locker room after the game, at least from my standpoint, and how I can address the team is completely different than it was a year ago. And so, we don't need to speak in those terms, but it feels different. There's more of a, just flat out upset. I can use a lot of different words to explain it, but this, really upset about how it went. These aren't learning moments anymore. This is us and our program. And, again, we understand the situation we've put ourselves in and that we're in. But it is a long season. And, let's take care of business this week. And then that's going to set up the next week. And then we'll worry about that. That's been our philosophy all along, but we really got to live it now.
Go to Colin, front left.
Hey, Kalen, you talked a little bit about Ty's performance post-game, but I'm curious. He said he called every drive after the first one, he said the offense played complacent. And I'm curious to see a guy after his first start make those kind of comments. What does that say about who Ty is and how he kind of runs this offense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't hear those comments. I guess I guess the only thing I can look into is that human nature is that when it goes well on your first drive and you end up in the end zone, that there's something internal, right? It's just human nature. But I also know that we challenged the guys that it was a lot of work to get the ball down the field. It took 9 minutes, and that, as great as that was, and man, that's awesome. Like, to take that much time off the clock, keep their offense off the football field, that's what you want to do. That you had to put play after play after play. I believe it was 16 of them together. And so I guess to me, we went out there and executed a lot of drives. We just have to do a better job of sustaining it and if there's a complacency, I guess maybe not taking for granted that, you get down into their territory, that it's automatically going to happen. You got to make it happen. You got to do it, and we got to do it. And so I guess if I'm really reading into what he's saying, it's that you got to finish. You got to do it. No one else is going to go out there and magically put it in the end zone for you.
Go to front right, Kennington.
8 penalties on Saturday. That was something that also hurt the team a year ago. What has been the strategy to eliminate those penalties? And now that you're into the season, what's the thought process of how to correct that trend?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of consequences that go along, especially the foolish penalties, the ones that, happened after the whistle and things like that. So that will continue to be the case. There's just got to be better judgment when we get in those spots. And that the quarterback's going to be protected, and you can't live in the gray area. And all offseason, that was a point of emphasis. We can't afford to have every guy have his one-off time to where it's like, okay, that was his mistake. Next game, it's a different guy. We got to learn and understand. We talk about everything from what we see in other games that happened around college football, the NFL, whether it was out of season and even here after the week 0 games. And so it's certainly addressed, and now the guys just got to do it. And when they don't do it and make those mistakes, then there's consequences that we've had and we've already dealt with here, going into this week.
Emily Graves, front left.
Coach, you mentioned that response that you want the players to have and the response they want to have. How do you and your staff maximize that into translating it to on-field results come Saturday?
Yeah, what the guys need to do is cut it loose. They just need to go play. They need to block out outside noise, whatever that is, enjoy and love the game and play it the way it's meant to be played. And that was my message yesterday, is don't overthink this. Just go out there and ball out. And they know what they're doing. They need a trust and belief in the training. They need trust and belief in the reps and all the banked walkthroughs, all those, all that they've done, all the work they've put in, and go out and reap the rewards from it and go have fun doing it. And so, don't overthink this. Just go out and play and do what you love to do. And don't listen to this person that's in your ear and telling you this and that. Like, go out and just do you. And that's what these guys got to do, and enjoy it, and play with an edge too, right? Because we got something to prove, because there's obviously a piece where this weekend we fell short of what we feel like we're capable of doing, what our potential is. So go out there and prove it too, but don't put added pressure on yourself. Have fun, get it done.
Go back right, Jamie.
Hey, Coach, do you believe that you play like you practice? And if you do, is there anything you would change in practice day to day to make sure your team puts out the toughest product they can on Saturdays?
Yeah, I completely believe that you play how you practice. And that's what probably surprises you even more, is like when your assignment's sound and you have great communication. We talk about confident team is one that communicates well. You're confirming what you do to the guy behind you, in front of you, next to you. You're alerting if you're on defense what the motion is. When you see some guy tipping off that he's going to go across the formation, you're one step ahead on what that coverage structure might roll to. Communication, and then obviously the effort, and so even just urgency from and transitions from drill to drill. It's not going to be stressed. I can't even say it's going to be stressed anymore, because we stress it every single day in every moment of practice. And so it's just got to translate to game days. And, again, a lot of it is just, just go out there and enjoy it and have fun. You put the work in, and these guys are doing it. I always compare the off-season training in the weight room. That we're not building to be a track team and then just take our running to more running. We're taking our skill sets, our body, and how we're developing, and then also the urgency in this transitions from one station to another. We got to translate that to football. How you run on the field, how you run off the field, how you start, how you finish, the mindset that goes into all that. And so, I really believe like our guys do that at a high level. And so, we got to make sure we keep stressing those things that we've stressed, and make the corrections here going on into this week.
All right, let's finish up with Alex here.
How do you think Ty did in terms of decision-making, not just where he went with the football, but feeling pressure, knowing when to get out of the pocket and move?
I think there was a couple times where he probably could have avoided having to get to that point by just ripping it, just trusting himself. The guys were where they needed to be. The reads happened. Just, that comes along with, right, getting into the flow and just, I know they want verification on that. Okay, this is what we practice, and it's the first game of the year. But he just cut it loose. Just like when you see the read, it isn't like they're putting 12 guys on the field. Okay, there's only 11 out there. And when this structure goes a certain way and it is what you practiced, trust and believe it. So then what that does is it forces him into, that progression or that read, being missed. And now, the next step, which I think you're referring to, and that's taking off and scrambling. And there's a time or two where he could have, made decisions that were better, but he also kept some drives alive, especially the first one. I thought he did a nice job and came up short there right at the end of the game. That's a tough one, where he came up a few inches short, but the effort was there. You could see that, trying to fight for every inch he could to keep that drive alive. So he's going to learn from it. Ty wants it. There's no doubt. I mean, he's a guy that takes ownership himself. And again, that's what we do from the coaching staff on down to our players, going into this week is just always reassessing, win or loss, like what we need to get better at, what our strengths are, and then how we got to progress and what the plan should be moving forward.
Thank you, Coach.
You bet. Thank you.